my friend, I want to ask you, have you been listening to some of my podcasts for a while and identified for yourself all the areas that you feel your business could be better in? Maybe you just are so busy you haven't yet mastered the working as much as you like bit. Or maybe you're just not bringing in the money, like you're struggling with the income, or it's just not enough. Well, it's time for us to have a conversation. In the show notes, there is a link to my Evolution call. If you're a dance boss and you are ready to take action, let's have a chat and let's see where I can take you. Hello and welcome, lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. I am very excited today because we have the lovely Heather Buelow, get my teeth in, who is joining us from Canada. Good afternoon, Heather.
Hello, and welcome to everyone listening too. How exciting.
Now, I'm excited because bit of a spoiler alert here. Heather is actually one of our new coaches in Dance Business Lab. And I'm very excited to have all of her wealth of knowledge from all the way across the other side of the world. Because one of the things we're going to talk about today is a little bit around the differences between what we do in the UK and what you guys do over in Canada and America, because I know you've got a lot of experience with how things are done in America as well. So we're going to touch on some of that today. But we're also going to talk a little bit about team, because, guys, Heather has a huge team, or it's certainly huge for us here in the UK. And so I know she is going to be spreading some of her pearls of wisdom around managing and running a team. So Heather, can I just ask you to kind of start off by explaining to everyone a little bit about where you are, what you do, tell us about your studio, let's find out all about you, Heather.
For sure. So I am in central Alberta. So Alberta is a province in Canada, and we're kind of on the west side of Canada. I have two locations. My one is in a smaller town, and then the other is in a smaller city. And they're about a 10-minute drive from door to door, about 13 minutes. So pretty close in location. I have been doing this for 21 years, which seems crazy to say, but and learning and growing every year. And it seems like the last 5 years have been a lot of work, a lot of rebuild. And as a studio owner, I felt that I was working even harder than when I started, but I was working smarter as well. And so my results were coming faster than when I kind of first started up. I have 22 staff currently between our two locations. We also have a boot camp gym, and then we also have an aerial program that we've infiltrated into the studio too. So from admin staff to janitors to the teaching, the coaches, everything like that. There's 22 amazing women that I absolutely love to empower and motivate. I think that's my special sauce.
Yeah. Wow. That is a big team. And I think at one stage, actually, I think I hit 22 as well at one stage. And I know that was considered really big in the UK. I mean, obviously they're not all full time. And like you say, some of them only do a couple of hours a day or a couple of hours a week even. But nevertheless, there's still people that need to be managed, aren't they? So would you say that you have like a main school and then you have like, would you call it like a second branch or a satellite, or are they both big and standalone on their own?
Just recently, we moved all of our competitive kids to our bigger location. During COVID, we had a big move and we ended up with a building that's 21,000 square feet. And so it's kind of like a big academy. It has a preschool in it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And the other location is not small either. It has about 5,000 square feet. But we just thought that we would move all of the more serious, intensive, competitive program to the one location, and then there is a recreational program at both locations and an aerial program at both locations. We try really, really hard to make it look, feel, smell, taste that you don't know where you are. All you know is that you're in Dancer's Edge. So both studios run very much the same. Teachers have to be able to teach at both locations when I hire them. We definitely have some teachers that just do competitive or the intensive program, and some that just do the recreational. But when I'm hiring a recreational teacher, they teach at both. So one studio doesn't get more of an advantage than the other one.
Ah, I see. That's really interesting. And 21,000 square feet, like that, you must have quite a few studios. How many studios do you have?
Yeah, in that one, there's 6 dance studios and then a gym. And we do use the gym for cross training for our dancers too, which has taken them to the next level. So, yeah, 6 huge. I'm very fortunate for that. It was an old library that was going to be, well, not very old, like it was built in the 90s, but the city was going to tear it down. And we were like, hey, like we can do something here with this. And so I definitely don't need that much space, but now that I have it, every corner is filled. So that's always the way it is, isn't it?
Absolutely. You buy a bigger house and it still looks full and you've never got enough room. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And I think, one of the things that I've noticed with the Australians, the Americans, the Canadians, that's slightly different to us here in the UK is, and you might disagree, this is where the great conversation come about today. There seems to be more dance studios that have premises like this, maybe not nowhere near as big as yours, but in the UK, it's more unusual that you have your own premises than it is usual. Most schools are still operating from rented, hired spaces. And I would say, I don't know, maybe, gosh, this is a real guess, but I would hazard even slightly less than a third of the schools actually have dance studios that they lease and it's theirs. Can you put some kind of percentage or figure on what it's like for you guys? Is it similar, or do you think that most people have their own premises?
Definitely that happens throughout America and Canada. I've spoke to a lot of studio owners that do that. But I would say probably more like around the 80% do have place that that they call their own, and that we have our mirrors up and stuff. But there is people that have remote studios and that have to change, and that's a whole kind of other ball game too, and you have to adapt and do things probably a little bit different than if you have a place that you get to come to every day and leave everything up and set it up the way you want. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, then that is a huge difference, isn't it? If you're saying nearly 80, we're probably literally the other way around. Like 80% don't have their own premises, 20% maybe do. So that's really interesting difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
There starts a really interesting conversation. Why do you think that is? Do you think that, in terms of, my thoughts are, we are a little bit behind, and this is no disrespect to all my amazing clients in the UK, because I love you all to bits. And I too was one of these studio owners, but I feel like we are not quite as far ahead and as progressive in terms of the business side of running the dance schools, in terms of treating them like a business and really knowing how to maximize the turnover, the profitability. So a lot of schools aren't in a position to have their own leased premises because there just isn't any profit at the moment in their schools. Do you think that might be the case? That's why you guys are so, so established?
Yeah, it's kind of when you said that, thinking kind of along the same line. So between my one location I pay $5,000 a month just in lease, and then the other location is about $7,500. So I'm almost $13,000 a month in leasing. So that's definitely gonna. I mean, that's probably a little bit high because I have so much space. But if you go to a big city, it's going to be a lot more than that as well. So I know that plays a factor. I'm wondering if like space provided, like if you have like these buildings that have 3,000, 4,000, like you need quite a large building in an area where people are going to come to. So I'm not sure if we're just kind of set up where we have a lot of these buildings that we can kind of access and grab and transform into dance studios as well. And I think too, it's kind of along the way, it's always been a norm kind of that way. Like we went to the dance studio and it was, you know, it was something that you either, well, in Canada, you either played hockey, you figure skated, or you danced, and gymnastics in there too. But like those were the things that kids did when I was growing up and still now. Like though, like everyone does one of those four things. So I think maybe like that it's a little bit more in the culture that's something that we, you know, set up and do.
Yeah.
As would be my guess. I am definitely not an expert as to why it is what it is, but I think that would be my educated guess.
That's interesting, actually. So potentially, maybe the spaces, there's more spaces available that are bigger. Potentially, cost-wise, it's a little bit cheaper for you than it is over here. We're only a small island with a lot of people on the island. I'm guessing, you know, maybe the actual commercial leases are more expensive to start with, and our kids have a lot of options. A lot of options. You know, there's 3 or 4 styles of martial arts that they might do. There's horse riding, there's music lessons, there's dance, there's gymnastics, there's drama, there's rugby, there's a lot of options. Like some of our students come just for one class a week, literally one 45-minute dance class, because they're doing 8 other activities in the week. So it's fascinating, actually. Yeah, really fascinating. Yeah. And I had a teacher once that left and went to teach in Canada, actually in Vancouver. And there were some really fascinating differences. It was a long time ago, but I remember her saying back then that, you know, the kids signed up for, say, ballet, and they did like 11 classes a week, and they took it really seriously. It wasn't, you just go for one class and that's it. Like, do you find that a lot of the kids are like all in with one activity? They don't do lots of different things in a half-hearted way?
So my response to this is going to be different than what it was 2019 and prior, because we have had a huge shift in what the students, how they act. So for myself personally, and kind of seeing in my area and a little bit larger, definitely parents are, your younger ones are putting them in one and even doing just one session and then trying something else and then trying something else. Whereas a while ago, you'd get put into dance and you were in it to win it and you stayed in that. And so now they're kind of like, we want the world for our children, which is great. But they're like, here, 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 here. And the commitment seems to be a little bit down than what it was before too. And so, but that's not to say like with the intensive program and the competitive program, my kids are dancing on average 12 to 14 hours a week. And so there is that. It's kind of seems like it's either all or a little bit.
Right.
That middle ground has gone away into letting them try and do everything and let them quit halfway through a year, which was unheard of before. But now it's like, oh yeah, we're just going to go play soccer. We're going to go do this, and we're just going to try this for a little bit. So I've had to pivot how my seasons and schedules are set up. That's a whole nother podcast. But, you know, and get ideas around, okay, this isn't going anywhere. How do I use this to my advantage? And there is ways to kind of support that as well.
Yeah. And actually, that's another interesting thing that I discovered, because when your kids sign up, am I right in thinking that they sign up for a whole year?
Yes. Well, for most dance studios, yes, is our season runs from September to May, June, depending on the studio. For my recreational kids, we do 4-month sessions. We do September to December, and then we do January to April, and then we do June samplers, and then something in the summer. So basically every kind of quarter for me, there's a new sign up, which allows for student growth. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously here in the UK, our kids generally do the same. They sign up what we call termly, and for some schools they might charge them for a term, which is probably 3 to 4 months. Nowadays, a lot more schools are moving to direct debit, actually. So it's actually more of just a rolling membership. But what we definitely don't have is this new sign up. We don't have everybody, all these dance schools, sweating and panicking every September because we're not going to get many enrollments. Like it's just expected that everyone carries on, from one year to the next. And that feels a little bit different. And I know that some of my American friends used to say, I wish we did that. I wish we didn't have to have this panic at the start of every year, where how many people were going to sign up. But it's great listening to all these little nuances and seeing how things.
Yeah. And I mean, we can take from each other too, right? Like, what about halfway through the year? Like, I never, even if we're like a month away from a recital, I'll still take people if people are wanting to enroll, because if I say no to them, they're going to go down the street and I'm going to lose them forever. So I will figure it out. I will either, see if I can get a costume and they can kind of do a different part, or maybe they don't do the recital and they just, start to figure out what our studio is like. But yeah, it's that open enrollment all year long where they can kind of come in. I mean, different programs, they can't, but there's always some sort of option that they can start in. So having that open door policy definitely helps with enrollment and growing your studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of not wanting to ever turn anyone away kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, Heather, tell me about how you got into the kind of coaching role, because, you help other dance studio owners similar to myself. And now in my community, very new, very recent. It's all the beginning of our new journey together. But how did that kind of start for you, that coaching dance school owners?
Yeah, I've been part of a couple different groups and, take everything in. And I've always been a person that's very, very creative. And like, you can't tell me no. Like, you can't shut the door on something. I'll find a way to get around and make it happen. And so I think like when I was with different groups that they just kind of seen that, I would be commenting in groups and they're like, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. And then I was approached and asked to, be a captain with the Dance Studio Owners Association, and then some other associations in a little bit more local, asked to do some coaching calls and stuff like that. And I think, I think why people like me is that I am 100% real. I will tell you that I was crying on my pillow the night before because of so and so, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to say it to you with love, and I'm going to help you work through it. And let's brain some ideas. Let's get out of the box that you have been in for so long. And what if you try it this way? And what if you did this? What would happen? What would be the worst thing that happened? What would be the best thing that would happen? So I think that's kind of where, in my energy, people say that all the time. I love watching you. I love, I'm still in the studio teaching. It's something that I probably will never give up. That's my heart is there. I'm still crawling on the floor like a kitty, my preschool classes, and, coming up with all of those fun ideas too. But where I found that my bucket is very full from my dance studio. But once I started kind of mentoring and helping studio owners, I was like, oh, this is kind of like what I do, but on a bigger scale. And I just felt a passion for it as well. And so when I'm talking and speaking and having these ideas, I just love to kind of give everything that's in my heart and inspire them. And so by inspiring my team in my studio, I was like, okay, I don't have to do everything by myself. And if I inspire them and motivate them, they're going to be amazing, and they are going to carry my values and everything that I want into the classroom. And that is when my studio turned the corner. And that is when it became what it is today.
So let's talk a little bit about team and managing that kind of number, because I think, I've got a bit of a saying that I'm quite well known for saying. I say it I've got a few, and this is one of them, another level, another devil, because you never learn everything that you need to grow and scale a business, because you get it to a certain stage and then, your business can only grow as fast as you. So therefore, when you've got your school to a certain stage with the knowledge that you have, if you still have a desire to grow your school further, you need a new knowledge. And with that new knowledge, that enables you to grow and then your school to grow with you. And a lot of what I discovered over the years was actually when the growth really started to happen, it wasn't around so much how to manage the classes and the timetable and the systems. It was how do I now manage the people, because there's a lot more people in my business now. It's not just me. And then it was me and one other. And then it was me and two others. And actually, my struggles came with managing the people that were in my team. And so obviously you have grown and grown and grown over the last 21 years, and your team has grown with you. Do you feel that your role has hugely changed over the years because you've now had to become a team leader and a team inspirer? It really changes a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, 1,000%. Yes. Yeah. And to have an open mind to do so, because we're like, this is my studio. I built this. This is, and to allow for ideas and to come from someone other than you, and to be accepting. And sometimes you'll say no, and sometimes you'll say yes, but to be open for them to bring something. I just like a shout out to like Dance Business Lab and businesses like yours. That is how I am the way I am today too, is because, we can reach out to groups like this and kind of be guided and get those ideas and then turn them into our studio too. So that this definitely helps. I have found that, so changing your mindset and your staff is the first representation of you. Actually, they are your front line. You are no longer, once you get to, we're over 500 students. So do I get to say hello to each student each week? Probably not. I might not see some of these kids. So I have to rely on my staff that they are greeting and, doing what we carrying our core values into every day at the front desk, in the class. And I don't leave it by chance. That's the biggest thing. You're like, oh, I hired these superstars. They're going to do great. That's great. But that's not, they don't know the ins and out of your studio. So having team meetings and team retreats and team catch-ups and making sure everyone is always on the same page. And so when a question or a situation comes up, they don't have to be like, oh, what would Heather, well, that's kind of what they think. What would Heather say, or what is the correct response? They know, they start to think and feel like Dancer's Edge, which is what my studio's name is. And so kind of changing their mindset and their thought process and how to answering with Dancer's Edge. Yeah, I think that's like where you start of it is, and once I started to get a little bit bigger, and then I realized that I am actually the CEO of my company, right? If you're looking at like a large business, so no longer am I just the boss. And so a CEO is basically there to have ideas and help with the growth and, not so much in the everyday, day to day. So where does that come from? So once you get to have a few, like even more than maybe 4 or 5, and it's starting to get, okay, this is more and more work on me. How do you do this? Is I end up having program directors, and I ended up hiring mine within house. I kind of put it out there. I let them all apply. I kind of had an idea of who I was going to hire, and it's great to offer things like that, because then you find out things that you didn't know, like, oh, this teacher has a psychology degree. Of course, she's going to be great in our health and wellness program. I didn't even know she had a psychology degree. And so now we've melded this health and wellness program to be amazing. And so my program directors are the ones that I talk to the most and I'm touching base with. And then they are inspiring and motivating and leading the teachers or the staff that are I hate saying underneath them, but you know what I mean? Like if you're thinking kind of pyramid, I'm at the top, then my program directors, then the teachers, then the assistants. So if you had to do all 22, that would be hard. But if I can manage 5, that's doable.
So I thought I would just share with you guys today the planners that I have produced for dance school owners, because these are flying out of Amazon like hotcakes. And if you don't have yours yet, then all you have to do is pop to Amazon and type into the search Deborah Laws, and all 3 books will come up. So the Ultimate Dance Business Planner I designed for you so that you had a little bit of a Deborah on your desktop. The planners are full of business training, tips, motivational quotes, things to do at the start of the month, things to do at the end of the month, ways in which you can plan out your marketing and your retention, and they are selling all over the world. So go to Amazon, grab your #1 best-selling Ultimate Dance Business Planner, and enjoy mapping out the growth for your studio. Yeah, absolutely. And I think anyone that is currently growing quite a big team, like, like you say, you've got more than 5 or 6 now, it's starting to get quite big. I think that is a vital part of managing and coping as you scale, because like you just said, you can't talk to and manage every single person individually, especially if you're still doing some teaching and you still are working on the growth and the strategies. So you need to cut that down so that you then just talk to the 1 or the 2. And if you end up with a really big, one of my lovely clients has got, a general manager, then she's got an assistant, she's got a bookkeeper, she's got a head of marketing, she's got 4 or 5 people just in the office. That's not even in the teaching faculty. And so there's 1 person that manages all of those people, and she just talks to that 1 person rather than trying to manage all 5 people in the office and then all 20 teachers. Like you have to be able to limit and organize your, what we call an org chart, so that you just have key points. And it's the same in any business. In corporate world, you don't have the CEO generally talking to the person, on the factory floor. And so it's learning how to manage yourself as well as manage your time, your teachers, isn't it? And your team.
Totally. And this mentality helps with burnout too. You can't do it. You cannot do it all. And as soon as you can let go of that, that's where growth happens. I always tell the story of my recreational program director. And I love my babies. I love my preschool dance classes. Like that's my jam. And so that was actually the first program that I let go of. And that I was just like, the first year she probably not hated me, but she was probably like, I got this. But now, like we're years into it, the program has like quadrupled, because even though I was giving everything I had into this program, it was probably only 30%, because I had so many other things on my plate that I had to take care of. So although I was doing everything I could, wasn't getting the love and the push that it needed to, and the ideas. So when I let go of it, and then her name is Amber, Amber started running it. She, the first year was kind of like figuring it out. And then after that, she'd be like, hey, what if we do this? And then the next year it's like, okay, I'm going to add the recital. Do you want to do the opening closing number? Do you want to help with the theme? Then it's like, do you want to help me pick out costumes? So as it goes on, more and more is coming off of my plate, and she's adding more and more to this program, and it's running so smoothly. So not even managing teachers, but just the program itself and what we offer to the public is a one-of-a-kind experience, because it has all of this love and focus on it. So it's a big step. And we are, as studio owners, and as we are artistic, and it's very hard for us to let go, because majority of us are perfectionists as well, because that's what makes us do our job so well. So this trait of delegating and letting go and being open to other people and and taking their responses and not being like, no, I don't like that. Don't say no. Take it. Let me think about this. Let me chew on this for a night. And you know what? It might be a no. Take some time, be open to their ideas, and something might come through that you would have never thought of. And it's going to change your business for the better.
Yeah. And I love that. And it's so empowering for them. When you start to give them some of that artistic license, it's like, she trusts me. I can be creative. I can have a little bit of a say in what goes on in this school and this business. I'm not just a turn up and teach and go home again. Like, I have a voice. I have, my opinions are being listened to. And some of it's even going into the programs. And, do you think that really helps with retention of your teachers when you get them more involved with the creative process in some of the aspects of the school?
I do. When I'm in groups and people ask, what do you do about firing? What do you do about hiring? I'm really actually not the best person to talk about this because my staff have been with me for like 10, 15 years for the most part. And I train my own. I rarely hire outside of someone that I've brought up in the studio now. Now that I'm older and established and stuff like that, I grow my own. I have hired outside and, come across a couple really, really, really great ones, but lost a lot. And those are the ones that usually turn and open up a dance studio down the street. But I found my kids that end up being assistants, that end up sticking around or going to college and then coming back. They know your core values. They know how your studio runs. You know them. They trust you. You've been with them for all these years. So I really put a lot of time and energy in those upcoming students that you can see. There's that little spark that you can see. And I'm always like, oh, she'd be a good one, or he'd be a great one. I'm going to keep him. So
yes, yeah. And I remember one of the best comments a student ever said to me once, because I just loved how gutsy they were. I remember saying to a 12-year-old something, when you say, what are you going to do when you're older? And she turned around and she said, I'm going to run this dance school and it's going to be mine. And I just love the absolute certainty, that was what was going to happen, and actually, I had several branches, but one of probably my biggest main branch where we had our own studios belonged to my dance teacher. So somewhere along the line, I must have decided that I was going to do that too. So I saw this 12-year-old who was like, and she went through our assistance program and our teacher training program. And she actually moved to Calgary and married Calgary. That's Canada, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very close to me.
Married a Canadian and lives there now. So she didn't take over my studio, but had she not moved to Canada, I'm completely sure she'd have ended up running it now. So, bringing up those kids that, love and are passionate about your school, and then giving them the opportunities through your programs to be able to, start helping out in a class and then go through a program and then a teaching qualification and then, potentially a teaching position. And then what I love about your school and bigger schools, okay, now you've been a teacher for a while, now you can become a head of department. Now you can become a vice principal. Who knows? Maybe you'll become an acting principal one day. There are progressions.
Yes, that they can see that their job that they have is worth something and that there's room to grow if they so choose. Yeah. Giving them the opportunity, right? Every human being wants to be seen. We want to be seen and we want to be heard. That's nature. That's, human nature. And so if you can acknowledge them and, foster that and encourage them and be like, okay, I don't really have this program yet, but maybe in 5 years, if you want to, and acknowledge that what they're doing is great, they're going to be even better, So if you water the plant, it's going to grow. If you just leave it to fend on its own, it might grow, but you don't know. So if you put in that time and the water to that beautiful plant, it's going to grow and flourish, and then you can reap the benefits of it as well.
Yeah, lovely. So people that don't have big teams at the moment, but you've got big dreams, just start maybe by thinking about, what's my assisting program? What could I do? I started assisting classes when I was 11. 10, 11, would go in on a Saturday morning and help with the early years classes. What can you do, even if you don't need a team at the moment, or you don't need a big team at the moment? Can we still start to plant those seeds and to start to grow that?
Yes, 100%. And I think too, like, even if you're like, okay, I don't know, that's not in my near future of having a huge team. I still think the focus needs to be around the team that you have. And, by having really good communication with them, by that, I mean, you're like, okay, well, I have 3 of them. We're going to have a retreat. No, but you're going to plan twice a year. Hey, ladies, we're going to do it at the studio for 2 hours so we can kind of work through everything. And then I'm going to take you out for supper after, and then we can kind of bounce ideas off. You're still meeting. You're meeting your touching point with them at least once a week, at the end of the week or at the start of the week, saying this is what's coming up. And then you have your monthly meetings as well. So, I mean, that's a lot of meetings, no matter if you have 22 people or 3. I would still be meeting the same amount of time so that the communication is there, so they can feel confident in their job. And then once that you've done that, then your next step is to acknowledge when you see something that you like. I am all about positive reinforcement is way better than the negative, like, oh, you didn't do this. You didn't turn the lights off last night. You didn't do this. And case she maybe forgot to turn the lights off last night, but you know what? She took the garbage out. So I'm going to say to her the next day, hey, thanks for taking the garbage out and actually taking extra garbage. I really appreciate that. You rock, high five, that sort of thing. And so she's like, oh, Heather liked that. And then next time she'll probably remember to turn off the lights. If not, then you'll address it, that sort of thing. I also, when you have team and you don't want to get distant, I don't want to be like the sweep in, sweep out boss. So I'll text them. I'll send them a little text or like a message and be like, how's it going? How's all your classes? Is there any kids that you're absolutely loving? Is there any little kiddos that you're having trouble with? So having, not only will my program director do it, but I do it once in a while too. So make sure that I'm talking with all of my staff and they know me as a human. And just, or little notes, gone are the days of like actual pen and paper, like a little sticky note on their stereo being like, hey, good luck today. You're going to rock it. Love what you do. Love your energy. Love Miss Heather, and that little note means so much. And it was a sticky note,
Yeah, I love this, Heather. And I really loved in particular the way you talk about, congratulating them and bigging them up, even when they've done something that you would just expect them to do. It's part of their job. Like I would 100%, old Deborah, years back before I went on my business journey, would be that person that the only time I really communicated with them was when I had to say, hey, you haven't done this, or can we try and do this a little bit better? Like not kind of being negative all the time, but I wouldn't think to congratulate them just for doing their job that they should be doing. And I think that's actually really important. Like the fact, just that reinforced positive language all the time that you're doing great, you're doing well. And then when there is something that you need to bring up, it doesn't feel like, oh, the only time she talks to me is when I've done something wrong or when she doesn't like something I'm doing. I love that. And I love the sticky notes. And I think that keeps it personal, doesn't it? I feel like your team would feel a very personal, yummy team to be a part of.
Yeah. And like, think about yourself too. If someone's always negative, did this wrong, how do you feel when you see them? You're going to instantly be like, oh, here comes Deborah, or are you, hey, good job. Oh, that was so cute what you did. I seen you in there, that sort of thing. Then you're going to be like, oh, here comes Deborah. Like, it changes their mindset towards you. And you don't want to be the hated boss. You don't. They work better when they like you. And so, yes. But you still have to be in that role. You're paying the bills. You need, so you have to, I lead with love. So
lead
basically,
with love.
Yeah.
I love that. Lead with love. We need a t-shirt for that, Heather. Would you say you prefer to lead a big team or a small team?
Oh, I like a big team because it's more of a challenge for me. And I'm like, I always have to come up with the ideas and, if we are getting together, so it's a retreat. So how can I keep 22 people engaged? What can I do that they're all going to love? Or, or what do we need at this time? So I mean, along the way of my studio growing, I loved every step of the way, but I'm really loving this now. And, and speaking to other teachers or other studio owners about their team and how they can inspire them. It's fun. It's exciting for me.
Mm.
So hard question.
I know. I'm sorry. I was just, I was thinking about, the people that struggle a little bit with leadership, and sometimes you can really get in your own head, can't you? I've even had people say, I don't want to get any bigger because I don't want to have to manage even more teachers. And that always feels such a shame, because to me, having a big school is not all about the money. It's not all about being able to, brag that we have a big school. It's about reaching more people through the art of dance. And why would we not want to reach as many people as we possibly can? At the end of the day, what we do is glorious. It's beautiful. It brings so much joy to people. The more we can spread the love as well as lead with love, the better. And so if it's just a case of, okay, well, I just have to learn how to cope with the whole VAT thing if I get big, or I just have to learn how to manage a big team, or I just have to learn how to manage a lot of parents. I think it's a shame when I see people shut themselves off to growth because they're scared of having to look after more. And when you can learn those skills, can't you?
Mm-hmm. You totally can. And it doesn't, I'm one person. My workload hasn't, because I have 22 staff, increased by 22 times. It hasn't. It's actually gone down. I have more time to do things like this and to travel with my family and to step back a little bit. So as you're growing, you're teaching and you're inspiring these staff, and they're learning your ways, and then you can pick out those ones that, okay, you work to a point where we have 8 people, I need help. Then you pull out someone that's going to be a team leader or whatever you want to call it. And then your focus is on that person, and then that person focuses on the ones that, have under them. And so that kind of trickle down waterfall effect is really the key. That was the game changer for me, is when I wrote out my org chart. I wrote out my dream org chart, what I wanted, and I wrote out what I had now. And then, so I go back to that kind of dream org chart. Okay, if I'm bringing something new to the studio, if I have a new idea, I don't know, what would it be? Maybe, curriculum. Say I want a standardized curriculum through my studio. Should I do that by myself right now? No. So I'm going to need a program director to facilitate this. So it's basically taking all your dreams and wishes that you want for your studio. When you get to take one and bring it into the studio, then you need to have someone help you facilitate that. And they are going to be very empowered because this is new for them. This is going to be their baby. They're going to put everything that they can into this. And the two of you are going to make this program great. And so that's how I know it seems overwhelming, but it's actually not. It's just kind of moving the puzzle pieces around.
Yeah, I love that. And I did this on a lovely retreat that I held with probably about 24, 25 dance bosses that came with me to Somerset. And we had a gorgeous 4 days together in a beautiful location. And we sat and created our org charts. And it wasn't a case of, well, you only have 3 teachers, so this isn't useful for you now. It was kind of what does it look like in 5 years' time in a dream world? And let's kind of create that, because I'm a great lover of deconstructing things. If you want to get to this situation, if you want to get to a stage that you're earning enough profit to have your own premises in the UK, then what does that look like in terms of 5 years' time? What income do you need? What students do you need? What does the team look like? And now let's deconstruct that back. So therefore, we get a plan that goes all the way back to, and what do I need to do when I get up tomorrow to start making that happen? And I think that's the same with the org chart, isn't it? It's, what does that dream look like for you? Do you want to be only teaching 3 nights a week, certain classes, having someone manage all of the office? It's your dream, but how do we create your dream? And especially with the team, what team members would you need? Like some people love social media, some people hate doing the social media. So let's get a social media person in there in 2 years' time or at some point further down the journey. It is taking the dream and then working backwards how to do that. I don't know if that's something that you've done in terms of the team aspect.
Yeah. And with you saying that too, like if then people are like, oh, where am I going to hire these people? A lot of times they're in-house and you already have them. And you just don't know. Like social media is a great example. So you need help with your social media. Okay, am I going to hire? Where am I going to go? Okay, well, I also have 5 millennials that teach for me that that's what they do. They are on social media 24/7. Why don't I approach one of them and see if they want to help me with content, with this, that sort of thing? And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I got this special little job. I can get some extra hours. So before you panic and go elsewhere and hire outside, you've already done the hard work and you've hired these gems of employees. If they have the time and the space to take on more, why would you not give it to them first? So that's definitely a little piece of advice there, is start in-house before sourcing out. And then because they already know your expectations, your wants, and how, Heather needs it done this way. It has to be done really well, so they're going to do that. So and you'll be, like I said before, you'll be surprised their talents, their hidden talents and tricks and what they'll be good at. And we do like a little staff survey at the start at our very first get together. And I will ask weird questions and they're like, what are you asking this? Well, some things I'll ask like, what's your favorite coffee place? What's your favorite chocolate bar for my surprise and delight throughout the year? But I'll also say like, what's your biggest dream? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What's a hidden talent that no one knows about in just this little like survey? And then I'll get it back and someone might say something and it'll spark an idea. And I was like, hey, I didn't know you do that. You do baby massage. Do you want to do a little workshop, a weekend workshop, and you can do baby massage and I'll fill the class for you? Yeah, sure. Okay. Boom. There was a new revenue stream that I didn't even know existed because I asked and I listened to my staff.
Yeah.
So this little tricks like that is what makes it not easy, but it makes it, like that you have a purpose and a path and you know what to do next.
I love this. And I feel, Heather, like this episode has been very much about general team and what that looks like and what it can look like. But I feel like we could go into now, maybe in further episodes, or maybe we'll even get you to do some on your own if you're up for it, around. So how do you run your one-to-ones and how do you do a retreat? And what is the surprise and delight that you spoke about? And like, I feel like we could segment this now into lots of little different areas.
Totally. I brought my book, my Motivate Your Team book, and like there's literally 9 pages of it. And I think I flipped my page once here while talking. So there's definitely lots of content too. And like things come up all the time too, and ideas and everything. And definitely can share and or even in like a group setting, and you can get it from other ideas from other business studio owners too. Oh, you do this? Oh, that's fun. Yeah. So just being open to new ideas and things that are going to come up, even not in the dance world. And then you take and you be like, hey, that might work in my studio. Let's try. Nope, it didn't. It's okay. Or yes, it did work. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So we're gonna hold you to some further episodes around team. I feel like we've touched the surface of Heather's notebook, everybody. There's a lot more gold in there we need to get our hands on. Heather, well, let's finish off today, anyway, at least, with a few of my I say they're quick fire questions. They're never that quick because most of the time people have to really think about the answers. I didn't make them easy enough, really, if I'm honest. But there's a few questions I love to throw at everybody right at the end. Are you good for this? Are you ready to go?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. So easy peasy one to start with. Favorite ice cream?
I would say mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate chip. So you see, everyone, if I'm really listening, then when Heather comes over to the UK to come and meet us, that mint choc chip is going to be waiting and I'll remember.
That's my surprise and delight. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, that has just literally triggered my memory. One of my speakers at my dance business conference this year happened to mention that she loved salted caramel ice cream. And we just fed it to her the whole entire 2 days she was with us. I think she went away looking like a salted caramel ice cream. Favorite business book?
Oh,
if you're a reader,
man.
maybe you're not a reader, or podcast, maybe.
A podcaster for business book. Okay, I'm going to go. She's actually an Albertan too. I'm not sure if you heard of her, Dr. Jody Carrington. And she's a school teacher she's a psychologist, and she works with school teachers. And she has a couple books out that are just amazing in the teacher realm, and, raising kids these days, it's around that sort of thing. But yeah, I'll go with hers. I don't read a ton. I do listen to some podcasts or whatever, but yeah, hers is definitely one.
Amazing. Thank you. And what would be the best advice you would give your younger, opening up your dance studio 21 years ago self? What would the best advice be that you'd go back and tell yourself?
There is a lot, because there was a lot of mistakes at the start. I shouldn't say mistakes, but there was a lot of learning and growing. I would say always crunch your numbers, and it's not okay to be free. I was one of those people who were like, oh, it's okay. Sally can come. It's all right this time. It's all right this time. And so I think that goes with, actually, this would be better to wrap that up, is to know your worth, that you as a studio owner have a worth too. And if you're going to pay a dance teacher to do something, I went for years and years and years without paying myself. And that was probably the biggest mistake, is that you are worth just as much, if not more. So know your worth. That's a good one.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great piece of advice. And last question, if you were able to sit down for 15 minutes with anyone in the world that's still alive, who would you sit with?
Oh, these are hard. Oh,
I know. God. I said they're supposed to be quick fire questions, and they're really not, are they?
Oh, man. Depends on the day of where you are and what you're working on. Like, am I wanting to be inspired in the dance world? Then I might pick, like a Lindsay Arnold or something like that, because I love how she manages her mom's stuff and working. Or do I need more business aspect or mentoring? And oh yeah, that's hard, Deb. I don't know.
We'll come back to that one. I'll let you think about that before the next podcast.
Okay.
But now you're going to have to come up with someone really good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been so much fun, Heather. And I can see that we're going to have a lot of great fun together on podcasts, as well as the coaching that you're going to offer, support to our members. I know you're going to become a really valuable asset to us. So thank you so much.
Aww.
I know you have to go.
Yes, no problem. I can't wait. Yes, I can't wait to chat again. And I love doing podcasts. I'm really talking to you. If you're listening to us right now, I'm like literally talking to you, because we've all been there and done that. And we're learning and growing together as studio owners in this amazing business that we get to do, that we get to inspire kids and inspire teachers to inspire kids. And I do not take for granted one day the job that I have, and I absolutely love it. And so, yes, I'm so looking forward to working with you and your amazing business, because you align so nicely with my values and everything. So, it's exciting things to come, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you, Heather. Have an amazing day, and we will catch up with you again really soon.
Thank you.
So I wanted to tell you that this episode is kindly sponsored by Sally at Dance Studio Marketing, who is your go-to solution for growing your dance school through the power of social media. So if you're feeling overwhelmed at trying to attract new students, at Dance Studio Marketing, Sally helps dance studio owners just like you to leverage the power of social media and paid ads to bring in a steady stream of students, which of course helps you to achieve more balance in your life. So if you're ready to grow with less stress, visit sallyprendergast.com or Or you can connect with Sally at Dance Studio Marketing on your favorite social media platform today. My clients are getting fabulous results using Sally. So let's get those ads going and let's get your school growing.